couple quick questions, but they're just yes or no. Is there any law on the books that would prevent a wartime president from shooting a missile from a drone at a suspected enemy within the United States?
Is there any law on the books that would stop that?
Yes or no?
I think it's not. I don't think there's a law on the books. I think it's a constitutional issue. I mean, the United States can't, the government can't shoot missiles at whoever it feels like anywhere.
Thank you.
And it can't.
And,
well, I'm not done.
You're done.
And
What about?
It's not a yes or no kind of answer. I mean, come on. I mean,
So, quick follow-up question.
Same question.
Same question.
Let me finish my answer, though. Seriously, let me finish my answer.
Your answer is no.
It depends on whether the United States is at war. If there were an enemy who actually invaded our territory and was on our territory, then obviously you would think you could shoot missiles at them, right? Just as the way in the Civil War, there was fighting on the territory of the United States. There was no law which said that Union soldiers couldn't shoot Confederate soldiers or Confederate soldiers couldn't shoot Union soldiers, right? But if we go into a wartime situation and an enemy is on our territory, the United States can use force. For example, and I'll give you, here's the answer to your question in a real, not a hypothetical, real life situation, which is on the 9/11 attacks, on that day, could the United States have shot down one of those airliners before they hit the targets? Under your theory, I take it, that's a criminal act, because we would be shooting a missile at a civilian airliner which was being used as a weapon against us on our own territory. And I think if you have that conclusion, you make it incapable for the United States to defend itself from terrorists. Because I think most reasonable people would agree that the United States could have shot missiles at those planes and taken them, despite the terrible loss of civilian life on those planes. Right? It would have been a wartime act to try to drive those planes into New York City and Washington, D.C., and would have been well within the rights of the United States in its own self-defense to use missiles to defend itself.
So, quick follow-up, because from your point of view, we are at war from here on out, and the battlefield is everywhere. So,
I didn't say that.
So, well, I'm saying it for you, and here's my question. Here's the question, and you can explain why it's wrong. Is there a law on the books that would prevent an American president from dropping nuclear bombs on an American city, or on a Canadian city, or on an Iranian city? And if they're not all the same, what's the difference?
Let me put it to you this way. Could Congress pass a law that would make it a criminal act for President Truman to drop a nuclear bomb on Hiroshima? I guess under your view, Congress could. And Congress could pass a law saying you have nuclear weapons, but now we're going to make it a criminal act for you to use them. And I think that runs counter to the Constitution and American history's validation of it, investing the commander-in-chief power in the president. For good or ill, the framers made the decision that the president would be in charge of strategy and tactics once war started.
For about 10 cities.
And if the United States thought that we ought to drop 2 nuclear weapons on Japan to end World War II, even though that decision has been, and will always be controversial for a large number of reasons. There are a number of people who think that the use of nuclear weapons.
I'm trying to get at where's the limit.
No, the use of nuclear weapons was very controversial then and now, and many people think the use of them in Japan was unnecessary and was a war crime. Just I'm sure you think.
That's a war crime. A war crime. A war crime. First World War. A war crime.
It's up to the president.
Sir, no limit.
Sir.
I'm not going to sit down in a room with an open war criminals. American presidents.